حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله. In Alhamdulillah, all praise, all thanks, all glory belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa astaghfiruh. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek His help and we ask for His forgiveness. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِن شُرُورِ أَنفُسِنَا وَمِن سَيِّئَاتِ أَعْمَالِنَا. We seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from what? From the evil of our own selves and from the evil of our own bad deeds. مَن يَهْدِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ وَمَن يُضْلِلْ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides to the straight path of Islam, none can misguide. But whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows to be led astray, there is no one. There is no one that could guide him or her back to the straight path. وَأَشْهَدُ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. I bear witness and I testify with absolute certainty, 100% conviction, without a shadow of a doubt whatsoever, that the only one worthy of my hope, my fear, my worship, my life is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. I also bear witness and testify with the same level of certainty, the same level of conviction, that the man who was born over 1400 years ago in the desert, the man who was known as As-Sadiq and Al-Amin, the man who single-handedly is the reason why you and I, sitting here at Sayyidah Khadija Center, can proudly call ourselves Muslim. That man, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the final messenger. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih. O you who believe, O you who believe, have the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what you're doing in public or in private, whether you're online or offline. Allah knows what you reveal and what you conceal. Allah is fully aware of what you do. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. And don't die. And don't die except in the state of Islam, except in the state of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the worst feelings in the whole world is to wait. Waiting for your doctor's appointment. Waiting to get ready to go out. Waiting in line. Waiting for others. Waiting for the package to arrive. Waiting. It's such a... Nobody likes to wait. But yet, how many of us wait for the blessings of Allah? You might be doing all the right things. You might be doing everything that you can and still things aren't lining up in your favor. You might be working extra hard at work and still no promotion. You could be doing everything you can for your kids and still they don't respect you. And it can go at the macro level. Look at our brothers and sisters in Palestine. For almost 2.5 months, non-stop violence, the boycotts, the protests, the du'as, the donations, and still there's no end in sight. What are we waiting for? People are waiting for Allah. So where is Allah? When is the help of Allah going to arrive? Where? When? How? We're waiting. We're waiting. Inshallah, the conversation we're going to be having today is to draw some inspiration of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making. We don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making when your heart is aching. We don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making when your heart is aching. So let's draw inspiration. You know, Christmas is around the corner. And so you might hear over and time again stories about Isa alayhi salam. So let's try to derive one thing from the life of Isa alayhi salam, but I'm not going to talk about him. I'm going to talk about his mom, Mary, the mother of Jesus. You see, subhanAllah, as Muslims, we hold her at such high esteem. She's put on a pedestal. She's, mashallah, very pure. Jibreel alayhi salam arrived and gave the news to Mary that she was to have a son. Mary is confused. How could I have a son if no man has touched me? Allah does what anything's possible. And so Mary, she has a son, a baby, miraculously, this miracle child. What I want to highlight here is while she had the baby, people, society, were making assumptions. Whoa, what's this? What's going on here? Mary, what do we see? Thinking ill of her. She's the most pure, and yet people still had bad thoughts about her. Let's pause for a second here. In today's society, do people assume the worst in others? It could be within your own family. It could be online. People don't want to wait for the whole story. They just jump and make assumptions. They don't wait. They don't wait. And sometimes now you're familiar with the term cancel culture. Some clip goes viral online. Some mistake happened and khalas, done, finished, you're over. Oh yeah, I know everything about this person based on this 20-second soundbite. So Mary, back then, the people, humanity is humanity. Things don't change. They made assumptions about her. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is painting a picture for how she dealt with it. You don't see her ever shaking her fists at Allah. You don't ever ask her, you never see her asking, where are you, Allah? All this slander, all this backbiting, all this gossip, all this mental anguish, where are you? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm trying to do the right thing, and people are still making bad things about me or saying bad things. You never see any of that. She waited and waited. And speaking of pregnancy, you know, subhanAllah, when you have a baby, the baby is completely dependent on the mother and father. When you hold that little child, that little baby, that newborn in your hands, the baby doesn't even have the neck muscles to lift its own head up. The baby cannot feed itself. The baby can't clothe itself. The baby can't protect itself. The baby is entirely dependent on mom and dad. Dependent. But as time goes on, that little baby grows. And suddenly the muscles develop, the intellect develops, and now all of a sudden, okay, I can stand on my own 2 feet. I can fly. I can do my own thing. How is this related to our conversation today? You see, your parents, if they're with you, may Allah bless them. If they're gone, may Allah have mercy on them. Your parents, no matter how old you get, you will always be that little baby to them. You will always be dependent. They always think you're dependent on them. But for us as we grow up, for us as we have our own jobs, for us as we have our own families, how many of us forgot the one who took care of us? I can do things on my own. Where is Allah in this whole conversation? Where is Allah? Sometimes you and I might fall into that trap of, we're good, I'm all right, I can handle it. I can do my own thing, I can survive. But yet, who was the one that took care of you when you couldn't take care of yourself? Who was the one that protected you when you couldn't protect yourself? If we do this to our own parents, what do you think about Allah? What do you think about Allah? And subhanAllah, no stronger example that we find than our Prophet ﷺ. You look at his life, we venerate him, we honor him, we love him, we wish to reunite with him in Jannatul Firdaus, all of us. If you look at his life, it was very difficult from day one. He was an orphan. No mom. No dad. Basically from day one. As a child, he had no one. You know, I'm just thinking now, subhanAllah, there is this one clip. Yesterday I saw it, and it still burns in my memory. You know, I mentioned briefly about Palestine. I saw this little clip of two girls. Small. 5 years old, less, 4 years old. Two of them, subhanAllah, one of them was giving a piggyback to her sister, and they're just walking around aimlessly. They're orphans. And I think this is really, subhanAllah, it's kind of hitting me a little because I'm surrounded in the Islamic school environment. And every time I see little kids run to their parents, rush to them when they're done with the school, they give them a hug. Oh, what did you learn at school today? Imagine not having anyone to go to. Imagine there's no mom. Imagine there's no dad. Imagine you had no one, and you're just wandering around aimlessly. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hammers home the point in Surah Al-Duha. أَلَمْ يَجِدَكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى. Were you not an orphan? Were you not an orphan and Allah took care of you? When no one cared about you, who cared about you? Who took you in? Who guided you when you were not guided? When people are asking, where is Allah? Where is Allah? Allah is always here. Allah has been taking care of you. Allah is taking care of you. And Allah will always take care of you. And sometimes you don't need to just go back in the past. You can look at an example today. There was a brother. He was on the fence about a business idea. I don't know if you've ever experienced this at work, where there's some dilemma that you have. They ask you to do something, or you're feeling, I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this is against my religion. I don't know if this is... There's this moral dilemma. You're fighting it. This brother needed the money, and there was a shady business opportunity. He didn't feel good. Even though the opportunity presented it promised a lot of fortune, he still didn't feel right. He was sitting on it, thinking about it. Well, should I do it? Should I not do it? Maybe you can relate. You know, should I do this or should I not? Against his better judgment, he went for it. Against his better judgment, he prayed 2 rak'ah istikhara. He said, okay, should I go for this business opportunity? Even his heart was not at ease. He wasn't comfortable with it, but he still said, I need the money, I got to do it. He opened the door of his house. He stepped out into his car. He put the keys in the ignition, and he was driving to the place that was the new business opportunity that he didn't feel comfortable about. He's driving. In the highway, there was a traffic jam. So he wasn't anticipating it. He slammed his foot on the brakes. He felt the back wheels turning, and alhamdulillah, he, by a few millimeters, didn't crash in front of him. Whew. Okay. As soon as he took that breath, he looked in the rear view mirror, and out of nowhere, a car slammed him from behind. Crushed the entire car. Yet he said that car accident was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Now, before I tell you what happened next, some people ask the question, how do I know if something is a test from Allah versus a punishment from Allah? How do I know if I'm in a situation? Is it a test or is it a punishment? One way I found to be a nice litmus test is this. If after the situation you got closer to Allah, it's a test. You started praying more Quran, you started doing good things, you started being you feel that connection. If something brings you closer to Allah, it's a test. If something brings you further away from Allah, then it's a punishment. And so, after the accident, miraculously, he was okay. His car was totaled, smashed like a crushed can. And he said, when I called insurance, I expected the insurance to cover the whole thing. But that's not what they did. Instead, because the car was so rare, because it was difficult to replace, the insurance gave him 4 times the amount. The very money that he was looking for in that shady business, he got it through this, without doing anything wrong. SubhanAllah. Allah works in mysterious ways. Things can happen on a dime. And inshallah, the second part of this khutbah, allow me to share with you one simple strategy. If all of us, and I'm including myself in this conversation, feel like things are out of line, what can we do to realign ourselves? I'm going to share that with you. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم من كل ذنب فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. At this time we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, for indeed Allah loves to forgive. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, wa astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. Just to recap what we're talking about, one of the worst feelings in the world is waiting. Waiting in line, waiting all sorts of things, and it's tough. And we mentioned the story of Maryam, the mother of Jesus. I know Christmas is around the corner. She went through a tough time, and people were just pointing fingers and making all sorts of accusations to her, but she still got through it. And we mentioned as well how, subhanAllah, things can be in your favor even if you don't expect. I mean, like subhanAllah, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he's an orphan. And it still burns to in that memory. You know, those 2 girls just wandering around aimlessly. I guess, again, I'm picturing the kids when they're going to see mom and dad and they're all happy and hugging. And then imagine you had no one. So even still, as tragic as that is, Allah is taking care of them. And so we mentioned as well about this story of this car accident, of how even still, when you put your faith in Allah, even if things aren't rocky, how do you know if something is a test versus a punishment? If it brings you closer to Allah, it's a test. If something brings you away, it's a punishment. So now, what is the thing to tie it all together? Let's say you're thinking right now, okay, you know what? I try to do the right thing, but things just aren't working out. I'm not where I want to be in my life, where I am with my family, where I am with my job, where I am with my community. I don't see it. I'm not leveling up to the way I need to. And I need to call upon Allah. I need it. You know, when you have a boat, there's something called SOS. When you're at sea and something happens to the boat and they need assistance, they have a special code, SOS. And so we can think of this as us needing SOS. If you feel like you're sinking, you feel like you're in trouble, you feel like you have no one to turn to, you feel like your own family is against you, you feel like nothing is going your way, you need SOS. S, surrender. O, observe. S, start. The first thing is surrender. Ya Allah, as good as I am, as amazing as I am, I'm limited. I can't do this on my own. As much as I hate asking for help, I can't do this on my own. Surrender. It's not a weakness. Eventually, the finish line is everyone's going to go back to Allah. I'm going to go back. You're going to go back. Where are we going to run? Just surrender. Surrender to the will of Allah. This one. So open your mind and heart to that surrender. Then O, observe. What's really going on? Is there something wrong with me internally? Or is there something wrong with my environment? Make those observations. And then start. S. Start getting answers for yourself. Start going in the direction that you need to go. People are talking about New Year's resolutions and things like that. Every moment can be a moment where you can turn back to Allah. Every moment can be a U-turn. No matter how far away you feel like you and I are, Allah is always here. Allah is waiting. Allah is waiting. And just to wrap up with one example, one of the best examples of this SOS, the second Khalifa, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu. At the very beginning, he was what an enemy to Islam. He hated Islam with all his heart. Hatred to the finest degree. But when he surrendered, he saw what Rasulullah was all about. He heard the ayah of the Quran. As big as he was, as strong as he was, as sharp as he was, I surrender. I surrender. And then he observed. He looked at Rasulullah. He looked at the companions. He's seeing what's going on. He's understanding more and more of this deen. And then he started. He walked in to the Quraysh, knocking on the doors. Look at me, I'm a Muslim. Proud to be Muslim. Embraced Islam. He started his journey. And now, mashallah, inshallah khair, he's in the books. So if we surrender, observe, and start, SOS, just like that boat that's sinking and needs help, if we feel like we're sinking and need help, Allah is always here. So whenever someone asks, where is Allah? I'm waiting. Allah is always here. Because you don't have to see it to believe it. We believe it to see it. We believe it to see it. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So at least kindly close the gaps in between. If we can't stand together in prayer, how can we stand together as an ummah? So kindly fill in the gaps as much as you can, and if you have your phone, kindly put it on silent. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والتين والزيتون والطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah, if you can lend me your ears for this announcement, inshallah. First of all, we thank our khatib today, Brother Muhammad Maxwell, for a wonderful reminder, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from him and accept from all of us, inshallah, so we can take that SOS with us and, inshallah, do our best, inshallah, to start back and come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and sisters, just want to remind you that as we've been saying throughout the day, throughout the past few weeks, we have been collecting money for all the brothers and sisters in Palestine. We've done it for the brothers and sisters in Afghanistan, in Turkey, in Syria, and all over the world. Alhamdulillah, and we will continue to do so. And inshallah, we want to make it a priority. Right now, we also have a priority for our masjid. And we need to make sure that we prepare. You know that the new year is going to start, Ramadan is coming, and we want to prepare as well, inshallah. So please, we ask of you, if you have time, and if you have the will and the means, please join us on Saturday, December 30th. It's our annual dinner, inshallah. We come together as families, as community members of this masjid, of this center, and inshallah, to come together and be able to make more sustainable changes, inshallah. So my brothers and sisters, join us on, again, Saturday, December 30th. You can go to the booth there, grab some tickets. For those that are online, you can access it online on our website or through our social media channels. Do what you can, inshallah. And at the very least, we ask for your prayers, your du'as, and your good wills and good gestures, inshallah, so we can enable success, inshallah. The second announcement is, you know that every Friday we have our halaqah program. Join us today. We'll have more to hear from Brother Muhammad Max, and joining him will be Brother Samir as well. So inshallah, and we're encouraging in person, as we've been saying. I know it's been a challenge, post, I want to call it COVID or whatever you want to call that period. But please come back to the house of Allah. That's also, in my mind, a test from Allah. How do we respond to the test that Allah closed all the masajids, or He allowed the closure of the masajids, and how do we respond by coming back? So make time, not to guilt anybody, but make time to come back where you can. This is one program that's available, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. I'll pass the mic to Brother Max. There's some dua requests, inshallah.
May Allah accept khair, inshallah. So the death announcement, Abdul Qadir Dokrat passed away yesterday. Jahora Ali passed away last Sunday. Kanad Khan passed away in Suriname. Cancer, Sister Hadida Osman, Brother Mawahid Ali Mian. Illness, Brother Muhammad Hussein, Brother Yunus, Brother Ghulam. And in the community, Sister Basmati Sharif, Sister Zalina Muhammad, Brother Ahmed and Sisters Zamila Shahzadali, and Brother Rauf Khan. SubhanAllah, for those who are mentioned and those who aren't mentioned, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them full recovery and grant goodness and paradise, Jannatul Firdaus. اللهم استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله ما انت السلام منك السلام وتبارك يا ذا الجلال والاكرام. اللهم اشفي مرضانا والمرضى المسلمين. اللهم اشفيهم انت شافي اشفيهم انت شافي اشفيهم انت شافي. لا شفاء الا شفاؤك شفاء لا يغادر سقما برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين. اللهم اغفر لي حينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وصغيرنا وكبيرنا وذكرنا وأنثانا. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين.